Ever wondered how New Zealand, a land of stunning landscapes and rich indigenous culture, became part of the British Empire? The story isn't a simple one. It's a complex tale of treaties, misunderstandings, and immense pressure. Let's dive into how the British took control of Mbori land. Before Europeans arrived, New Zealand, or Aotearoa, was exclusively inhabited by Mbori, organized into various iwi or tribes, each with its own territory. Land wasn't just soil to them, it was a spiritual and ancestral connection, something you belonged to, not something you owned and sold like a commodity. This concept is called Tino Rangataratanga, which means absolute sovereignty and guardianship over their lands. Then, in the early 19th century, European whalers, traders, and missionaries began to arrive. At first, interactions were mostly about trade. Mbori were keen to acquire new technologies like muskets and metal tools, and they traded goods like timber and flax. Some land was sold, but these early deals were often fraught with misunderstandings. The British concept of permanent individual land ownership was completely alien to the Mbori collective view of land. The situation escalated as more British settlers arrived, hungry for land to farm. Tensions grew. To establish order and formalize its claim over the islands, the British government sent Captain William Hobson to negotiate a treaty with Mbori chiefs. This led to the signing of the Treaty of Waitangi in 1840. And this is where things get really controversial. The treaty was written in both English and Mbori, but the two versions said different things. The English version states that Mbori chiefs ceded sovereignty of their land to the British Crown. However, the Maori version used the word Kawanatanga for sovereignty, a term they understood as governance. They believed they were giving the British the right to govern and establish laws for settlers, while they would retain Tino Rangataratanga, or their absolute authority over their lands, villages, and treasures. They thought it was a partnership, not a surrender. Almost immediately after the treaty was signed, the British colonial government began to act as if they had full control. They established a system where the Crown was the only legal buyer of Mbori land, a practice called preemption. This allowed the government to buy land from Mbori at very low prices and then sell it to settlers for a massive profit. Mbori quickly realized the deal wasn't what they thought it was. Resistance began to build. The colonial government, however, had its own agenda. They passed laws like the New Zealand Settlements Act in 1863, which allowed for the confiscation of land from any iwi deemed to be in rebellion against the Crown. This was a powerful tool used to punish Mbori resistance and acquire vast tracts of prime land. This led to the New Zealand Wars, a series of conflicts that raged from the 1840s to the 1870s. Though often outnumbered, Mbori warriors fought fiercely to defend their land and sovereignty. But the British colonial forces, backed by the resources of an empire, eventually overwhelmed them. Following these wars, millions of acres of land were confiscated, leaving many iwi landless and impoverished. Another major blow was the Native Land Court. Established in 1865, its purpose was to convert customary Mbori land titles into individual freehold titles, making them easier to sell. The court process was expensive, confusing, and often forced Mbori to travel long distances, leading to debt and the eventual sale of their land to Peak or European New Zealanders. By the beginning of the 20th century, Mbori had lost over 90% of their land. The loss of land was devastating. It shattered Mbori economic self-sufficiency, social structures, and their spiritual connection to Aotearoa. This historical injustice is not just a thing of the past. Its consequences are still felt today in social and economic disparities. The process of acknowledging these wrongs and seeking redress through the Waitangi Tribunal continues to be a central part of New Zealand's national conversation. So, the British takeover of New Zealand wasn't a simple conquest. It was a gradual process driven by a clash of cultures, a controversial treaty, biased laws, and armed conflict. Understanding this history is crucial to understanding modern New Zealand. Thanks for watching, and if you found this interesting, don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into history.